Sagittarius, unexpected victory. Someone is fixated, and your long-awaited dream is nearing. Sagittarius, have you ever felt like you've come so far, and yet something still lingered just out of reach? You've grown. You've forgiven. You've let go of people who didn't know how to love you. And you've done it all in silence, with strength no one saw, carrying hopes you barely spoke aloud. Deep down, your heart once whispered a quiet wish for something to return. Not just a person, but a moment, a breakthrough, a turning point, something that would prove all the waiting wasn't for nothing. And today, I'm here to tell you, that moment is arriving. Welcome to Zodiac Wisdom. I'm Sophia, your astrologer, your guide, and your mirror for truth. This space is where the cosmos meets healing, and where your Sagittarius soul is honored for everything it's endured. If something in your heart is stirring already, take a breath and stay with me. Subscribe if you're ready to walk deeper into your story. Like and share if you know someone else who's been carrying silent strength too long. And most of all, stay until the end, because what we're about to uncover might not only surprise you, it might finally shift the path you've been standing at the edge of. Because Sagittarius, what you've been waiting for, it's not just coming, it's been circling you all along. Gate 1, the career shift you didn't see coming. Sagittarius, you've always believed in possibility. Even when the odds were stacked, even when the timing felt wrong, even when you had no map, just intuition and an aching desire to create something meaningful. That's who you are. A builder of vision, a dreamer with fire in her bones. But let's be honest, these past few years haven't been easy. You've tried, you've pushed forward, you've poured energy into projects, people, and paths that felt aligned, only to see doors close right when you thought they would finally open. And at some point, maybe you stopped talking about it. You didn't want to sound like you were complaining. You didn't want pity. So you wore a brave face. You told yourself, maybe it's not my time yet. But what if it was? What if the universe wasn't rejecting you but redirecting you? You see, Sagittarius, your path is not linear. It's never been. You're ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, but also of divine timing. And that timing is about to show itself in a way you didn't expect. One of my clients, Lynn, a Sagittarius woman in her late 40s, spent years trying to get her freelance coaching business off the ground. She had the passion, the talent, the tools. But no matter how much she poured into it, clients came in waves, never consistently. One day she told me, "Sophia, maybe I just need to settle. Maybe I'm asking for too much." I looked her in the eye and said, "No. You're asking too soon." 2 months later, she was invited out of nowhere to speak on a podcast with thousands of listeners. The host? Someone she casually helped on a project years ago. Within weeks, her client base doubled. And within months, she was booked out 6 months ahead. Sagittarius, this is what I call an alignment detour. It feels like delay, but it's divine orchestration. Right now, your energy is shifting. You may feel restless, like something inside you is expanding faster than your life can catch up. That's not confusion. That's preparation. The universe has been holding your reward in a vault of timing. And finally, the combination is about to click. You might notice signs. An old skill resurfacing in your thoughts. A career idea you once dismissed now showing up in conversations. Dreams where you're working in a space you've never seen but feel deeply drawn to. A sense that someone is watching your work, even if no one's saying it out loud. That's not coincidence. That's frequency. That's the vibration of manifestation aligning with your new internal power. Sagittarius, success is no longer a chase for you. It's becoming a magnet. Why? Because you've changed. You're no longer trying to prove yourself. You're no longer driven by comparison. You're no longer trying to be valid in someone else's world. And this is the key. The moment you stopped chasing, you started attracting. Money doesn't respond to need. It responds to resonance. Opportunities don't respond to desperation. They respond to readiness. And you, Sagittarius, are finally ready. This next phase of your career won't come from burnout or hustle. It will come from clarity, from joy, from doing what you love because you love it, not because it guarantees a return. And that's exactly why the return will come. So don't be surprised if the thing you once wanted now comes to find you. Don't be shocked when someone from your past reaches out with an opportunity. Don't doubt it when a door opens effortlessly. And you hesitate because you're not used to ease. Say yes. Let it be easy. Your triumph in career and money won't look like a giant announcement. It may start quietly with a message, an offer, a moment of recognition. But it will grow. And this time, no one will be able to take it from you. Because you didn't beg for it. You became it. If you're feeling this shift already, if your heart's beating faster, your dreams getting clearer, write it down. Declare it. I'm ready to receive the reward of my efforts. Not because you need it to feel whole, but because your soul has earned it. Sagittarius, this is only the first gate. The universe is just getting started. In the next part, we'll talk about the unspoken ending you've quietly carried, and how finally letting go of that chapter will unlock everything you've been waiting for. Gate, the ending you never got to grieve. Sagittarius, you are known for your strength, your optimism, your ability to bounce back. But let's talk about something you rarely show, even to those closest to you. The ending that never had a name. The goodbye you never said. The grief you never let fully rise to the surface. Because somewhere along the way, you learned to cope by moving forward. You convinced yourself that dwelling on the past was weakness. That talking about what hurt you would only slow you down. So you smiled. You said you were fine. You told people it was for the best. Even when your heart whispered, but I didn't get to say goodbye. Sagittarius, you never lost your fire. But somewhere in that fire, you buried an ending that needed more than just time. It needed truth. And maybe even a few sacred tears. One of my clients, Denise, a Sagittarius woman in her 50s, vibrant, capable, a small business owner, once shared a story that broke my heart. Years ago, she was engaged to someone who deeply loved her. But just a month before the wedding, he left. No explanation, no closure, just silence. And for years, she never spoke of it again. When we met, she told me, I'm happy now, truly, but there's something unfinished. Every time I feel love coming close, I pull away. I don't want to, but I do. I asked her, did you ever grieve that ending? She paused, then shook her head slowly. No, I got over it. But Sagittarius, getting over something isn't the same as healing it. So many of you have carried similar ghosts. The friend who disappeared without a word. The job that ended in betrayal. The parent who never apologized. The version of yourself you abandoned to survive. And because there was no drama, no big confrontation, no final conversation, you never knew where to place the pain. So it stayed unspoken, unacknowledged, heavy. But here's what I want you to hear now. You don't need someone else to give you permission to grieve. Grief is not just for death. It's for lost potential, for unsaid words, for dreams that slipped through your fingers before you ever got to live them. Sagittarius, you are not weak for feeling this. You are wise for finally turning toward it. And if no one else has ever acknowledged the loss with you, let me do it now. I see the ending that broke you quietly. I see the moment you kept walking when all you wanted to do was fall apart. I see the version of you that held everything together so others wouldn't have to worry. You deserve to grieve. And more than that, you deserve to release. So here's how you begin. Find a space where you feel safe. Bring a photo, an object, or even just a memory. Light a candle, not to honor the other person, but to honor the part of you that held it all alone. Say their name if you need to, or say the name of what you lost. And then whisper, I release the ending that never came. I grieve what was unspoken. I bless what I once hoped for. I let go with love, not for them but for me. You may cry, you may not, but something inside will shift. Because when you grieve the ungrieved, you make space for new life. Denise did this. She wrote a letter she never sent. She read it aloud under a full moon. She cried for 20 minutes. And then she laughed. Not because it didn't matter, but because it finally had a place to rest. And 3 months later, love walked in again. Not loud, not dramatic, just true. Sagittarius, the universe cannot give you what's next until you fully release what was. Not reject it, not erase it, but honor it and move forward with grace. You don't need to wait for closure. You are the closure. This chapter is your invitation to make peace with the past. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you deserve to feel free. In the next part, we'll talk about something even deeper. The spiritual connection that's been guiding you behind the scenes. a soul bond that's been reawakening in your dreams and signs, and how that bond may hold the key to the love or purpose you thought would never return. But for now, Sagittarius, take a breath. Let what you've buried rise. You are not falling apart. You are releasing what was never meant to be carried this long. Gate 3. The soul connection that's been guiding you all along. Sagittarius, have you ever felt an invisible presence walking beside you? Especially during the quiet moments? A familiar warmth that isn't tied to anyone here. Yet it comforts you more deeply than words ever could? Maybe it comes to you in dreams. Maybe you've heard a name, a melody, or a whisper in the wind that made you stop. Maybe a thought has crossed your mind that didn't feel like yours, but somehow held the exact wisdom you needed. That's not your imagination. That's a soul connection. And it's been with you longer than this lifetime. You are one of the rare signs that is born already halfway between here and somewhere beyond. Your ruling planet, Jupiter, is the philosopher, the spiritual explorer. And while others may seek proof, you seek truth. That truth has shown up again and again through signs, intuition, and that one connection you couldn't explain but never forgot. One of my clients, Jordan, a Sagittarius woman in her early 60s, once told me about a recurring dream she'd had for over a decade. A man she had never met, wearing a faded coat, standing near a river. He never spoke. He only looked at her with eyes filled with memory. She tried therapy, meditation. She even saw a past life regressionist. Nothing brought full clarity. Until one day, in the middle of a routine grocery trip, she passed by someone humming a tune she didn't recognize but that made her burst into tears. That night, the dream changed. The man spoke just one sentence. "You kept your promise." Sagittarius, you've made promises across time. You've loved deeply in other lives. And sometimes that love doesn't end with death. It weaves through dimensions, waiting for the soul to be ready again. This connection doesn't always show up in a romantic form. Sometimes it's a mentor, a stranger, a moment. Sometimes it's the feeling that someone has protected you when you didn't even know you were in danger. If you've been feeling like someone is watching over you lately, they are. Could be a grandmother whose photo you keep but never knew, a sibling who passed before you were born, a soulmate from another life who made a vow to stay with you until your mission was fulfilled. You don't need to believe this to feel it. And you don't need proof to know it's real. Because the signs are already showing. A repeating number that appears when you're doubting yourself. A sudden wave of peace when everything feels like it's falling apart. An unexpected opportunity right when you're ready to give up. A message, dream, or memory that arrives with uncanny timing. These are not coincidences. These are alignments, activations, a sacred reminder that you are not walking alone. Sagittarius, your soul is awakening to something ancient. You're being asked to remember. Not with your mind but with your spirit. To listen not to noise but to vibration. To reconnect, not for comfort but for clarity. This connection is not here to save you. It's here to remind you of who you were before the world asked you to forget. So what do you do now? You create space. You get quiet. You call them in, whoever they are, by simply saying, "If you are guiding me, I'm listening. If you've walked with me, I'm ready to walk with you. If I've forgotten who I am, help me remember." Then pay attention. Maybe they'll show up in a new friendship that feels instantly deep. Maybe they'll come as a creative surge that feels guided from beyond. Maybe you'll write words you don't even remember thinking. Maybe you'll find peace where fear used to live. You are not alone, Sagittarius. You never were. And this soul connection, whether it leads to love, purpose, or simply strength, will not ask you to become someone else. It will simply ask you to come home to yourself. That is the heart of a true spiritual bond. It doesn't pull, it awakens. So if you've been dreaming of someone who feels familiar, if you've been sensing something that stirs your chest at night, if you've felt stronger, clearer, wiser for no logical reason, that's your soul remembering. That's them reaching through the veil. And that's the universe, gently guiding you toward alignment. In the final chapter, we'll return to you, to your triumph, your transformation, and why all that you've endured is finally turning into a future no one can take from you. You've walked through fire, and now it's time to rise. Conclusion, Sagittarius, you are the victory. Sagittarius, after everything you've endured, everything you've carried, and everything you've quietly released, this is your moment to exhale. You don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to explain your path to anyone. And you definitely don't have to earn your worth through struggle, because the victory is already here. And it's you. It's the version of you who didn't give up, even when you had every reason to. The version who still believed in something better, even when the world told you to settle. The version who returned, not to what was, but to who you've always been underneath it all. This journey wasn't about getting them back. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about reclaiming the fire that was always yours, and finally letting it light the road ahead. You've walked through 3 powerful gates. The career detour that turned out to be divine direction. The unspoken grief that was never weakness, but wisdom in disguise. The soul connection that reminded you, you've never been alone. Not once. And now you're standing at the threshold of something vast. Not because the stars are shifting, but because you are. You've stopped chasing closure. Stop bending to fit old shapes. Stop doubting the voice that's been guiding you all along. And Sagittarius, that changes everything. So here's what I invite you to do. If even one sentence in this video touched something in your heart, share it in the comments. Write the words your soul needs to hear. Declare the truth you've been afraid to say, because sometimes naming it is how the miracle begins. And if you're not yet part of this journey, subscribe now. This is just the beginning. In the next episodes, we'll dive deeper into love that doesn't hurt, purpose that doesn't deplete, and a future that truly reflects who you've become. You are no longer waiting to be chosen, because Sagittarius, you've finally chosen yourself. And from that place, everything else begins to arrive. Stay bold, stay wild, stay open. Your light is not too much. Your truth is not too late. And your season is right on time.